We are moving on to the next session for today, and the next session is going to be handled by Dr. Sudhakar Umale, Head of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sardar Patel College of Engineering, Andheri, Mumbai, India. I would like to invite Jinu sir to give a brief introduction about our speaker. Over to you, sir.
Good evening. Introducing our speaker, Dr. Sudhakar Umale, Head and Head and Associate Professor for Mechanical Engineering, Department Sardar Patel College of Engineering, Andheri, Mumbai. His educational qualification: BE in Mechanical Engineering from Amravati University, ME in Machine Design from SPCE, Mumbai, and PhD in Material Science from VNIT, Nagpur. His areas of research: IC engine, heat transfer, automobile engineering, ductile cast iron, biofuels. He has 34 years teaching experience in engineering colleges, and his research publications: 20 international journals and 3 national journals, and 19 international conferences and 9 national conferences. And he has guided 40 students for ME and MTech, and at presently he is guiding 3 PhD scholars. And he delivered 76 expert lectures in FDPs, and his membership of science and professional societies. Is a life member of ISTE and life member of ISNG. And his IET membership number is 1100331128. And he got awards: Best Technical Paper Awards 2015 by Indian Institute of Foundryman, and SAE India Guru Award 2016-2017. And he is a PhD supervisor in Mumbai University, and his achievements: as technical judge, session chair, reviewer, editorial board member, organizing committee member, advisory committee member. We are very pleasure to having you, sir. We hand overing the session to you, sir.
So thank you very much for introductions. Am I audible, sir? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Clear.
So good evening, all of you, dear participants. Dr. R.S. Racine Sylvest, Cape Comorian Trust, Lavender Literacy Club, India, Malaysian Industrial Relations and Human Resource Association, Malaysia. So I will start. My topic is how to write good PhD thesis. Welcome to my lecture. Shall I present? PPT is visible?
Yes, sir.
Welcome all to my lecture on topic how to write a good PhD thesis. Why I have chosen this topic is that writing a thesis is a major part of PhD program. The original research is presented at the end of their course in the form of a thesis. A thesis, therefore, is the written evidence of the efforts that is well written, scientifically accurate, and comprehensible. Thesis writing is challenging for the researchers. The researchers must have in-depth knowledge of research methodology. The research would be very clear about their topics, the objectives, and the methods. So what do you mean by thesis meaning? It is very important. hence they must have interest in that particular area. They would start from basics of the thesis, like a title page, abstract. They should know the importance of plagiarism and grammar checking. The process of doing literature review provides in-depth knowledge in a particular field. On completion of thesis writing, completely the research candidate will be awarded a doctor or PhD degree. To complete the thesis, research methodology is important, and hence you must understand what is exactly thesis. The thesis is basically a form of communication between the researchers and the rest of the world. It has to give the reader a good understanding of the work done as well as an appreciation of the research. In order to do this, the thesis has to be very well structured and well designed. A thesis, therefore, is the written evidence of the efforts put in by the student for the length of their program. In addition to the writing the thesis, there are several associated activities that should be considered, such as presenting your work at conferences, writing of a scientific paper. So this is very important. What is the introduction of PhD work? Particularly PG and PhD students want to know what does a dissertation or thesis look like. So everybody is thinking of good PhD work and good PhD writing thesis. I want to explain some of the important concepts how to write the PhD thesis. There are some variation in writing thesis among universities, among departments, even among thesis committees and faculty members. PhD students are recognizing the need for some skeletal structure around which to assemble the researchers' ideas, the data, and their conclusions. I will explain all these researchers' ideas, the data, and their conclusions in respective slides. So you must understand what is exactly research. So these are the two legs of the research. That is, one is the inspiration and second is the motivation. Without these two fundamental ingredients, we cannot complete the research. Without proper research and motivation, it is very difficult to conduct research. The successful thesis writing can be represented in different steps. These are selection of suitable research area, assess for availability of facilities, infrastructure, and resources. Conduct of research as per the study design, collecting data and storage of data, data analysis, arranging and sequencing the material, writing the thesis, editing the thesis content, editing for language, avoiding ambiguity in data presentation, checking for plagiarism, copyright, acknowledgements, and disclosure and conflicts of interest. So these are very important when you start any type of research work in your field. And hence, we have to understand what is exactly thesis meaning and what is exactly research meaning. Research is mixture of inspiration. What is exactly inspiration means? It is hypothesis generation and rational thinking. You must know what is the meaning of rational thinking, design and execution of crucial experiments, analysis of results in terms of existing theories. The selection of suitable topic is the first major step in writing report. So this is very important, how to select a suitable topic of your research and for thesis writing. So we'll discuss about some criteria of selection of suitable topic. So this topic selection is the major issue, and you should begin your topic selection by identifying 2 or 3 broad areas in which many different types of research may be pursued. As soon as you select a broad area of study, you need to immerse yourself in the literature published and available in that area. So we have to discuss about what are the different criteria for topic selections, and topic selection based on following criteria. First is the interest. So this interest is very important. This interest is completely depending on the individual, and hence my suggestion is that the candidate and topic are must be professional, and their interest, personal interest is very important. Significance is very important. Significance of your topic, available data, knowledge and skills, and I'm according to my suggestion, your topic of work must be selected as per your knowledge and skills, because main advantage of selecting correct research area is you can talk, your report contains knowledgeably, your skill is very important to conduct some research techniques. Some work really require specific knowledge and skills that you may have. Manageability is again important within the particular time. You have to complete your research within particular time. You have to do the research work. You have to do the planning of it, and hence you must have the managing timing for writing each chapters separately, and hence I suggest you that you select a topic in such a way that you can complete your project work within the stipulated time. And last is the funding. Funding is the very important. Without that, research cannot be done. Financial, already everybody knows that what are the financial constraints, and that financial constraints will scope the research that you want to decide. And during decide significance of the study, you must ask 3 questions yourself. These 3 questions are very important considering the significance of the study for writing work. Why is my studies important? If you answer that, what is your thesis importance, then you can have the particular interest in that. Does my study create new knowledge? Because always research requires new knowledge, new theories. Does it has a practical applications? This is very important. What is your topic and what are the industrial applications or any practical applications you have for a particular area? And hence we have a particular selection of topics. This is very important. How many chapters you write in the thesis, and according to that, each chapter is very important. You have to decide important chapter first. That may be introduction, literature review, methodology, and experimental details, results and discussion, conclusions. Before you write your introduction, you must know what research is first. So in that area, you must know what is the exactly research you are doing. So in the writing introduction, it is very easy to write introduction topic. Then you have to select your research investigation for quantitative, qualitative, and experimental observations and so on to solve your research problems. And hence, research investigation must be written in the introduction topic in particular way. Already I have explained, it must be quantitative, qualitative, experimental, observation also you can write. Next is the research analysis. You are doing so many research analysis. After that, you are able to write thesis, and hence it is very important that generally thesis writing depends on selected hypothesis, a selection of questions that you consider for research, answering those questions, finding correct solutions, generating new knowledge from your research analysis, and you have to validate that analysis. You must be reliable, and conclusions are very important to write good thesis. When the conclusions are very good, definitely you got good results and good conclusions. Unfortunately, majority of PhD candidates find it difficult to finish their thesis on time because of confusions and lack of expertise. So this is generally very common. Just I am guiding my students and they are not able to write particular area, that is particular chapters, they may get confused, and because of lack of expertise in writing or doing experimentation, so they are not writing very easily. PhD candidates do not know how to write their thesis correctly and scientifically. This is very important. We will discuss later on. They must know how and why objectives are required. So objectives in the research area is very important. Research objectives, how to get research objectives, and hence you must understand how to get objectives and why we require the objectives. The use of objectives gives ideas about scientific writing. So from that objectives, how you get ideas to write your thesis, to do your thesis, and definitely your scientific writing may be successful. You may determine that quantitative analysis will suffice in answering your research question or will respond to your purpose. On the other hand, you may conclude that it is qualitative, the deeper understanding of the topic that responds to your purpose, or ultimately you may decide that a mixed method approach using both quantitative and qualitative analysis is the best method of inquiry for your thesis and dissertations. Data analysis is very important component of any research studies. So this is very important, data analysis, and during doing data analysis, you will get a lot of ideas, and that ideas can be implemented in writing thesis. And hence, what is generally the general structure of thesis? Generally, we have 9 structures. The first is mandatory pages, introduction, literature review. Fourth is methodology or setup of your experimental areas, results and discussion. 6 is the summary and conclusions, references, acknowledgements, and appendix. So what are the mandatory pages we require? These include title page, dedication if any, declarations, certification pages, abstract, table of contents, list of figures, list of tables, and nomenclatures. These are generally given in different page numbers in small Roman numericals. So we are not using number 1 or 2 like that. So we are using Roman numbers for writing all these. So generally this is question that what should be the abstract length. The abstract is generally written last and has to be around 800 to 1000 words. So how to write abstract is very important. It should create enough interest in the reader to read your entire thesis, but it also should not have too many details. So we'll discuss later on how to write abstract. It should give a quick overview into the importance of your research topic and then cover the main topics of your current work and mention the general implications of your work. So in short, you are writing so many things. In short, research topic, then main area, current work, and what are the implications of your work. And I want to start how to decide your planning of writing thesis. It is very important, and hence you have the planning of writing of thesis. Otherwise, you cannot manage your thesis in proper way, and it is not a good thesis. And hence you have to start your chapters and you have to think on it very clearly. So what should be the title page? Title page must be very important. So this is the first page of your thesis. It includes your name, project title, department, institute name, and in partial fulfillment of the degree like that. Abstract, it includes generally summary of study like problems, purpose, brief description of methods, result and general conclusions. Third is table of contents. The table of contents tells the reader where to find each chapter. So generally, you have to check every time that chapter name and your table contents are very matching. Otherwise, there may be mismatching of the numbers. Sub chapters you are writing, table numbers you are writing, figure numbers you are writing, and appendix you are writing in the table of contents. Dedication is not so important or not necessary also, but it is very nice to things to do. Acknowledgements is a very good skill. How to write acknowledgement. The acknowledgement section gives you the opportunity. Thank you, your guide. Supporting staff, head of department, principal for their friendship, love, encouragement, support, and guidance. I personally think it is a tacky when people do not have an acknowledgement. Never forget where you came from or the people who supported you while you achieved success. This is very important for PG candidate. PG candidates is not writing good acknowledgement. They are only writing in short way. This is not good for their writing. So and hence you must concentrate on acknowledgement. This may or may not be read by the reviewers, but it is an important part as it recognizes the contribution of everyone in your work. Then it comes abbreviation list. If you are using so many abbreviation, you make the abbreviation list from Roman abbreviations or letters, small letters, capital letters like that. So it must be according to your guide, supervisor. Then you have so many certificates. You write certificates in proper way. Detection of plagiarism is very important nowadays. Detection of plagiarism and plagiarism, detection of plagiarism may lead to rejection of the research work, penalty, and also blacklisting in majority of the publication work. So I want to tell something before starting main topics. The first step in thesis writing is to choose the appropriate research area. The research topic should be the thrust area of particular specialty. So why I am calling thrust area? Because you must be very special in the particular research and should be relevant to the existing research gap. So you must mention what is research gap, and your work must be within the and existing, and it should be relevant to the research gap. And hence you must know the what is introduction of thesis. This is very important part of the thesis as it will provide the first impression to the reader. If your writing is not good, you cannot create the impression to the reader, and reader will not read or not refer your thesis carefully, particularly reviewer and examiners. It should start with giving the reader the motivation of for your research work. It should set the context of your research. Very briefly, it should cover the work done so far and indicate the importance of your work. It should also give an overview of your results and the key findings. So this is very important, how your results and the key findings, and you have to write that key results and key findings in the thesis very properly. Towards the end of the introduction, one can give a brief description of the structure of your thesis, as in what information is given in which chapter. So also now this is a practice of writing structure of thesis. So in first chapter you are explaining what is in chapter 1, 2 like that, 3 chapter 3, 4 like that, and hence structure of your thesis is very important. And introduction is the most difficult part of PhD thesis. A good introduction is critical to capturing the attention of your readers, engaging their interest in your research. Introduction of thesis again very important, and if you want your introduction topic is good, you have to answer these questions very carefully. What is going to be done? Why are you doing it? Who is likely to be interested in it? what exactly is the hypothesis or problem, what is the possible use of research, and what is the research focus. And you have to answer it in as per your interest, your knowledge, and your skills. Automatically, you get idea how to write exactly introduction chapter. Then we come to the second chapter, that is literature review. Literature review is very important. So this part gives the reader a broad understanding of all the research work. So you must know what is the exactly research work by reviewing the literature that has already been done in your area and how your work is different from them. You are reading all this literature review, and you are understanding all the research work, and you are showing that your work is different from them. This is very a skillful work. One should try and include as many papers as one can that are relevant. So you are using the relevant literatures, and you are selecting very close papers, publications, and you are trying to add all these papers in your literature. There is no point in simply increasing the number of papers reviewed if they don't add any value to what you are saying. So many candidates are adding number of references in the thesis. Also, they are writing so many things unwantedly. They are making a large thesis, but it is not useful to your work. Papers that support our work must be definitely be highlighted. This is very important. So what are the exact papers we require? So generally among the 200 papers or 300 publications, only 5 to 10 publications are very important for us, and that must be highlighted very well. Ideas which are opposed to our work can also be mentioned, but you should add as to why it is still good ideas to do your research. In the end, one must conclude what you have understood from the literature survey and clearly identify the research gap. And hence, this is very important. You have to write summary of your literature survey, and in that literature survey, you understand so many things, and you have to write the literature survey in proper way so that you will get the research gap. You should also explain briefly how you are going to try and address that gap in the respective chapters. During writing literature review, again, I am giving these questions. These are very related when you understand all these three questions. So you are able to write your literature review topic. What have others said? It is very important. What have others said, written or researched about your topic? So when you understand this question, then you are able to write literature review summaries and continuation in literature. Second question is, what theories illuminate your topic? Illumination of your topic is very important, and you are searching such type of research work, literature work, and some theories from the data books or any handbooks. How does the literature relate to your research questions? This is very important. How many research or how many literature reviews are relating to your research questions? So next is the problem statement. Problem statement is very important for your work. These are very important problem statements, research questions, hypothesis, and contribution of the study are very important for PhD candidates. And hence you have to concentrate on these 4 areas: problem statements, research questions, hypothesis, contribution of the study in your work. Next, this question is very important. What are the exact problems to be investigated? So this once you solve this question, this must be explained by you very carefully. In the thesis writing, you have to explain what are the investigations of your problems. Is it intended to discover new knowledge? This is second question. Is it intended to discover new knowledge? So what new knowledge you are getting from your research, and how you successful to write that knowledge in your theories, in your thesis writing. What sources will be used during your investigations? So there are so many sources of finding investigations. So you have to mention that in the your literature works, problem statements, research questions. Now next is the how to write methodology, setup, experimental details. So generally the next 1 or 2 chapters will be focused on explaining methodology of your work. So after completion of literature review, you must concentrate on another topic, that is methodology of your research work. So this is very important, how in what way you are able to explain your research, your experimental work, your experimentation methods, your writing readings, or any other works that is related to the methodology. For experimental work, it can be a description of the setup. So you are using some machineries, you are using some setups. You have to write very clearly what is the exactly setup, uses, applications, and their experimental details. You are using some instruments for getting ideas, for getting readings, and you are writing how that instruments are used for measurements for your parameters, because there are so many parameters, independent parameters and dependent parameters. So you are measuring that parameters by the instruments, and you have to explain all these things. And most importantly, the calibration accuracy. If you are using wrong instrument for your research work, then you are not getting correct reading, and hence before start your work, calibration accuracy is very important. For numerical work, it is very important. Some students are doing some work on numerical work. For numerical work, it can focus on the algorithms used, software used, grid dependence details. So you have to explain each and everything in your research work. This chapter should convince the reader that you have followed robust methodology for carrying out your research. Mathematical correlations again very important for many students, many candidates are performing in different way, and hence one of the ways mathematical correlations may be used to show the degree of association between two or more variables chosen, and high correlations may allow predictions or point the way to experiments. Now next come to the research methodology. It is the most important area. And how do you conduct research methodology? And again, I am asking a very important 3 questions before start of writing research methodology. How will you approach empirical work? So particularly empirical work is very important, and hence what is your approach of getting work done by your research methods? And hence this approach is very important, and you have to answer this question very carefully. How will you approach empirical work? Second important question is that what style and techniques have been chosen and why? So during your research work, you are using different style of writing, different style of measurements, different techniques of measurements, techniques of finding your solutions, and hence why you have chosen, and why it is why they are needed. So you have to explain that way. That is the question of second. Third question is very important again. What samples, tests, observations, and measurements will be needed? So suppose we have so many samples. Let us say one sample, second samples. How many samples you are using for your experimentations? What are the different methods of testing of it? What are the observations you are writing? And what are the style of measurements? So once you answer this, definitely that may be helpful for writing thesis. Select your research methodology. What research methodology you are selecting, that is very important. Give complete justification of the research approach if required. And so justification of the research approach is very important. You make at least 2 or 3 pages of during writing. So in my PhD work, I have given very well justification of my research approach. So and hence I got my topic, I got research this publications, got award for my paper publication. So this approach justification is very important when you are doing any research approach, and why we are choosing it, you require the justification. During this research methodology, you need to cover two areas, that is overall style of the research. So what is your style of work is very important, so that reviewer can understand, examiner can understand, your supervisor can understand your overall style of research, and that may helpful for writing also. Actual techniques to be used within your work. So what are the actual techniques we are using, and you must note down all the techniques, and that may be helpful during writing work. So data analysis is very important. How to do the analysis? Again, I am asking three questions. If you are able to answer this, definitely you are able to write it very clearly. What data has been found? So this is very important. You have so many data. You have to separate all these data according to your need, and hence according to your data, you have to do the analysis, and you have to write analysis in proper way. What is your interpretation of them? Suppose you have different data and you have done the analysis, and you must be able to interpret data 1 to data 2 or data 2 to data 3, like that. So interpretation of all data must be done very carefully. Do they prove or refute? That is because sometimes argument is not true, and hence we have to prove that arguments are very true by literature survey, by your results, and you have to answer this question: do they prove or refute an hypothesis? And come to the next topic, that is result and discussion. This is very important. That is actually your work. So as it is your work, you are free to write good results and good discussions. This section deals with the key findings of your work. It is very important. Key findings of your work. That's why I have answered it. You should generally have enough material for this, as it is the core of your work. So if you have a little amount of work, then it is not complete correlations or interpretations, drawing results, observations, graphs, pie charts. You are not getting enough work for getting all these things. And as it is core work, you must concentrate on this result and discussion. Next is you have to present the results in appropriate forms. So your presentation style is very important. Whether you are using charts for presentation, or contour plots for your presentation, or you are using some tables of results or tables of observations, you think about it. The objective should be make the reader aware of the key parts of the results. So your objectives of research and your results and discussion must match. Otherwise, there is no matching, means it is not a good thesis. And hence you are writing your objectives of research, must be related to the results. The discussion should merely state the obvious. It should make the reader understand why these results are important and what they mean. So during writing, you have to explain that why your results are very important for the readers or for research, and what are the meanings of your results you have to explain in the thesis writing. And after that, you are able to write summary and conclusions. Why we write summary, why we want summary of conclusions, why we want actual conclusion chapter. We have a separate conclusion chapters, that may be the last chapter. This chapter summarizes the entire work in brief manner. So always it is very necessary to conclude your conclusions in a brief manner. Also, some points out the key conclusions that we have obtained. The conclusion should be crisp and not too elaborate. A future scope of your work is either included in the conclusion chapter, or it may be added as a separate chapter. Many candidates are including future scope of your work in the conclusions It is better you write future scope maybe after conclusions without any chapter name. That may be also good. A future scope should not be too vague. You just it may maximum it may be of one page, not more than one page, and don't explain so many things in the future scope. You give the idea about your work and or missing work because of some time limits. You are not able to write future work, future scope, but just to give the idea to the next candidate. It should be a natural extension of what you have already done. So this is very important, how to write summary and conclusions. So presentation of conclusions and recommendations are very important. Many PhD candidates are repeating results in the conclusion parts. I observed when I check PhD candidate reports, many candidates are writing same results in the conclusion part. It is not good. Only there should not be any type of repetitions. Results must not be repeated but summarized and related to the hypothesis on research questions. So there is very important that results must be related to your hypothesis work, your research questions, and hence your hypothesis or research questions may be selected according to your research gaps. So conclusions writing is very important, and I have given some of the questions to you, how to write the best conclusions. Just you answer this question, how can you summarize the work? If you are not able to summarize the work, then it is very difficult to write the thesis. Second question is that are there any actions or recommendations to take? It is again very important. You have to write, if you are able to write actions and recommendation to take for your conclusions. Was it all successful? So it is very important that you are doing so many research work during your progress. Then you have to write whether the all or each activities is successful according to your knowledge or not, so that successful ideas and successful ideas may be separated or it can be written in the thesis. Then another is what are the writing questions about references is very important. After conclusions, you must be able to write proper references. These give details of all the papers cited in the thesis. There are several different standards for presenting them. So you are selecting any standards of writing references and you observe and you stick on them. Otherwise, you are selecting different standards, then it is confusing. And one must select an appropriate standards and stick to it. There are ways of generating them automatically in MS Word, LaTeX, etc., which is better to avoid mistakes. Because many candidates are making mistakes, you are writing reference or citation in the particular chapter, and that reference is not matching with your reference numbers, and hence to avoid these mistakes, you make you can use MS Word file for writing words, all references, or some software for it. In case it is being done manually, one must double check to ensure no paper cited in the work is missed out from the references. Suppose you are using some publications and you are not able to mention in the references, then it is very big mistakes. What books, journals, papers, and other sources have been referred to throughout the work. So you must note down all these things. What are the books referred, journals, papers, and that's why I have marked it as a question. Average thesis contain more than 100 references, and hence in what way you are able to write references, the name of author or authors, the full title, the editions, if not first, like third edition, second editions, like that. The publisher name must be in the reference, date of publication, ISBN number if any, page number. If we want specific reference, you can write page number also, volume number, issue numbers, Page numbers are necessary for journals and periodicals. So, okay. So this is a way of writing references, and I have mentioned it very clearly. Sometimes it is necessary to write appendix because some of the data cannot be written in the results or in the literatures or in the introduction chapter, and hence after references you can use this appendix for necessary information for the readers or for the reviewers, and hence any information that is useful in understanding the thesis but not critical to it can be added in the appendix. So you know what is the appendix, and you are able to write appendix very well. It is not compulsory to be added but can be done. Are there any extra details that the specialist readers could refer to if necessary? Many times there are specialist reader because some candidates, after your work, some candidates want to refer your thesis and they want your detailed knowledge, and hence it is better to write appendix for future work. So this is very important. Many candidates are not able to take proper precautions during writing. Apart from the above, ensure that the thesis is grammatically correct by using spell check and grammar check software. So it is necessary nowadays. It is available, spell check and grammar check software. You go and you can use it. Use good quality images with properly labeled access and appropriate captions. So many times the images or figures are not visible to the readers, and because of the quality images, these are not quality images, and hence you must take care of using quality images during your thesis. Decide on good formatting practice and ensure the formatting is consistent throughout. So formatting of that your thesis is very important. So otherwise there is no sequence of writing it, and hence not once time you are doing consistently your formatting of thesis. This will ensure better readability and thus chances of thesis acceptance improves. So many times reviewers reads it and your thesis may be rejected and they will send your thesis for corrections. So it should not happen, and hence you take care of it. Write your PhD work very clearly in such a way that the average persons can understand your work, your language, your paragraphs. Your paragraphs should not be long, lengthy. So consistency of writing is very important. Any person can understand your work. Even non-technical persons can understand your work. Thesis writing is a special skill. That skill must be developed by every PhD candidate. PhD candidate can write their thesis correctly and scientifically. Methodology can be written in such a way that it explains very clearly how to do in a very simple manner. General understanding during writing. So this is very important. Otherwise, you are not able to write it. You have to explain the skills needed for the research. Many times you don't have the research skills, but you have to develop it, and so it is required during writing it, and hence you have to explain that skills during writing this. Find the necessary literature. Suppose you are not able to explain it properly, so you find the necessary literature so that you will get the support for the arguments. Do not assume anything. So this is very important. Many times many PhD candidates are assuming so many things, so it is not allowed. So it must have some reasons why you are assuming, or why it is needed. Your work must be quantitative, means you are using some numbers, measuring, and qualitative. So that is the qualities. When you are using numbers, that is quantitative. When you are using qualities, and then it is called as qualitative. Thesis description, appearance of your knowledge is very important. Choose your study area perfectly. So this is very important. If you are doing differently and your topic is differently, general understanding during writing is again very important. Focus on specific objectives and research questions. This is very important. So if you are not able to collect objectives of your research and research question, then you are not having the right path of writing. Select the style of research. Organize your research writing chapter wise. Prepare and write very carefully research techniques and instruments used during research. list out collected data and arrange those data in the proper way. Many PhD candidates are not able to collect data in proper way, or they are not able to arrange in proper way. Sort out data as per the area of work you are doing in work area. Suppose that area is different, next area is different, and if you are mixing your data, then it is very difficult to interpret your ideas because you have not sorted all the data very carefully. Interpretation analysis of the collected data very accurately. Write your investigations done. What are the theme, purpose, and main objectives of your research? This is very important. So you must ask this question: what are the theme of your thesis, purpose of your thesis, main objectives of your research work? Write in a better way. This is the very solutions. In what way you are writing? You choose the better way of writing. So what is the hypothesis for scientific research? Just you ask, what is the hypothesis for scientific research? Avoid vagueness during writing the thesis. So many times you are using so many theories, so many unnecessary things you are writing thesis. Avoid it. Writing. Avoid these words like have a look at, try to see if etc. Be positive during writing. Aim of research is very important. It is very important and must be written carefully. Always ask this question. What is thesis research for? Clarify your research questions. Sir, I will take only 5 minutes. Sir, I will take only 5 minutes. Clarify your research questions. Understand what is specifically required. Critically assess your own proposals. Visual summaries such as graphs, pie charts, bar charts, are useful and attractive, especially. Plagiarism is very important. What type of plagiarism you are facilitating?
I have for the presentations. Okay, first, don't read your slide. Don't insult me. I can read better than you.
Who is making?
If you are repeatedly or you are just reading all the words from your slide, I won't give you a good mark. I will give you a mark, but I won't give you a good mark.
So plagiarism is very important for intellectual property rights. All institutes and colleges regard it as a gross misconduct if you are using any wrong thing in your thesis. Proofreading of thesis is very important. Otherwise, there may be wrong numbers in the writings, figure numbers, table numbers, reference numbers, missing words, cover page errors. So this is very important during last work. This is your last work. Thank you very much for patience listening. Do you have any queries? Any queries, sir? Any questions? Moderator? Am I audible, sir?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Okay.
So the portal is open for the participants to ask your queries. Is anybody willing to ask any questions or doubts? So,
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, do we have any prescribed format to write a summary and conclusion?
So there is a format particularly in your university. So according to your university, you must write your chapters and summary of literatures. So it is necessary to write summary of each chapters. So it is good for thesis writing because it concludes your each chapter very well. So, but there is no format. So according to your university's suggestions, your supervisor suggestions, you can write your summaries.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Sudagar,
Yes, yes.
I'm Professor Bala from Malaysia. I'm very impressed with your talk just now about how to write PhD. My question is, some students, they know that they can finish by 3 years because when they are registered as full-time student, they are given a time frame to finish 3 years. But what happened is the student even in the year 1, year 2, nothing, they never produce any work, like, PhD is something like you are independent, nobody has control on you.
Yes,
But
yes.
some student can finish on time. It's not a supervisor. I don't blame anything on supervisor, Steve. But how you want to motivate these people? Because some student, they're very, they plan, they finish on time, 3 years, or part time, maybe 4 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. But some student no any work be done. First year nothing, second year nothing. They just like, and finally they will blame the university and the supervisor, which I think no right. So what is your right advice to, those students, and maybe also good for the supervisor, how to handle this kind of students so that they can finish on time?
Okay, this is very good suggestion, sir. I want to explain about this blaming because of candidates only they are not able to write it. So there are some suggestions. So many students are following only some of the methods. So they will not able to write early stage. So there are some you are working on research as well as you are writing your works. Many candidates are not able to start writing their thesis at your writing and your thesis work should be parallel. Keep your research in parallel with your writing, so they grow in parallel. So don't wait for writing. Suppose your research work is completed after 3 years, and many candidates are writing their thesis. They start their thesis after 3 years. Then they cannot remember what I have done last years. And hence, I will suggest that begin to develop your thesis as a part of process of initiating your research. Uh, Create a table of contents, planning as early as possible. So planning is very important. Table of contents are very important. So particularly area, suppose work work is differently and second work is differently. You prepare a table of contents. So what is my actual research work for a particular area? Second area is different, and hence according to the questions, if you are dealing your writing, definitely you are not making a strong thesis, and hence make sure that you are writing to the structure advocated according to the supervisors, your universities, and that candidate must have the confidence of writing of chapters, writing of research, and literature review is not good. Your development of literature review must be very carefully, and candidate make sure that it is structured and critical. Critical paper must be referred, and latest paper must be referred for fixing or deciding the strategies for exploring the literature. and hence you have to do your analysis, and you are using some backgrounds of your analysis. Background writing is very difficult for the students. Writing a contest is very difficult. Explaining key terms we are using in the thesis, it is very difficult. They are not using the key terms, and they are not able to explain the key terms. Broad area of research. So you have to select a particular area. So many candidates are selecting broad area and they are not able to complete their research work within the stipulated times.